What's up, Anchor Peeps? Anchor Pete here, and today I'm here to talk about a comic book. This is the 100th Anchor Pete YouTube video. In the time leading up to this, I got up to like video number 98. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do for my 100th video? I got to do something special. I thought about like who I could bring on. Maybe I could bring on Danny and Chris from the Lasser cast, and I could bring on Sherry T, and we could have like a live video. Or maybe I could bring Brian from Ramblings from the Rod Pod. But in the end, I decided to have my very first video guest with me. Little Clemmy. Remember from the Clemmy scale? Here she is. Clemmy's going to sit here and color while I talk about Origins by Clay McLeod Chapman.
Origins is an original comic book series published by Boom Studios. Clementine and I are big fans of Boom since they publish all the modern Power Rangers comics. Origins was created by screenwriter and producer Arash Amel. Arash is also the co-writer working alongside Marguerite Bennett on the comic book Butterfly. You might recognize her name. She wrote the comic Kara Zor-El, Superwoman, which I reviewed weeks ago on this channel. Two other creators besides Arash are given credit for Origins, Krieger and Joseph Oxford. I'm not familiar with their work. I can see some of Arash Amel's influence on Origins. He also penned a sequel to the Will Smith post-apocalyptic movie I Am Legend, which is very similar in tone to Origins. The script for Origins was written by Clay McLeod Chapman, who I also mentioned recently on my channel. Chapman wrote one of the two stories in King in Black, Planet of the Symbiotes. His story in that book focused on Scream, who is probably the third most well-known character with the symbiote besides Venom and Carnage. I really enjoyed that book, and that made me eager to read Origins. Origins takes place close to 1,000 years after humanity was wiped out. An artificial intelligence composed of nanotechnology, known as the Network, infested animal and plant life throughout the Earth. The Network decided that humanity needed to be exterminated and wiped out the human race by starving the population and then wiping out the last survivors with animals under their control. You learn of humanity's fate over the course of the first two issues of Origins. It is a slow burn story where the reader is left to put together the pieces of the Apocalypse's backstory. Our two main characters are David Adams, the last living boy in the world, and Chloe, the android tasked with protecting him. The beginning of the limited series focuses on David trying to determine who he really is, and the second half of the series seems to be focused on David's quest to bring back humanity based on what he learned about himself. Origins is aptly titled. Without spoiling too much of the story, I can say that it is reminiscent of a few television or streaming shows that I've watched recently. The post-apocalyptic landscape, beautifully drawn by Jakub Rebelka, combined with the almost fluorescent coloring by Patricio Del Peche, reminds me of the Netflix show Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts. The idea of androids attempting to bring back humanity and creations recreating their creators reminds me of Westworld. The fact that Origins reminds me of these shows is a compliment. The story of the comic is in good company. By issue 4, we are knee-deep into our odyssey, and it looks pretty grim for Chloe and David. Will they be able to save humanity? And what about their robot companions that they picked up along the way?
All right, so that's it for my 100th video. It wasn't a super spectacular event, but it was me talking about comics, which comics are the closest thing to my heart, right? They're what I'm passionate about. But I just wanted to say for all of you that have watched these videos, the fact that you have stuck around for this long, I know who you are and I appreciate you. And for anyone that I haven't met that's checked out my channel, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, I have like 96 subscribers. Can I just get 100 subscribers by the time my 100th episode comes out? And of course, you can also check out my other channel, The Lasser Cast, where Chris, Danny, and I are reviewing horror movies from the documentary Horror Noir. So until episode 101, we'll see you next time.